and I told you so. I'm a kid in the candy store. Put the leather on the denim. I ain't the cure, I'm the venom. If you wanna find me, find the taillight. Something's coming in, you're gonna wanna take a red eye. It's time to go. It's time to go. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready.
A pleasant good afternoon to all of you all over the world listening to Katipunan channel. This is Paglinawan, ang Maestro. At narito na naman po kami para ibigay sa inyo ang ika-20 episode ng programang ito na in-entitled namin na Collusion at Sea. Ayan. Philippine Epal maneuvers near the Ayungin Shoal. Ayan mga kabansa, bakit namin tinawag itong collusion? No? Bakit namin tinawag ito? Siguro nabalitaan nyo naman na nagkaroon ng konting sigalot sa South China Sea. No? Kasi last October 22, mga kabansa, 2 collisions occurred involving Philippine vessels engaged in the resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal. The first involved a resupply boat sideswiping a Chinese Coast Guard vessel. The second was a Philippine Coast Guard ship backing up on a Chinese fishing vessel. President Marcos called for a security cluster meeting instructing the Philippine Coast Guard to conduct a thorough investigation on the incidents. Dito po natin makikita ang wild imaginings as Secretary of National Defense, Secretary Gibo Teodoro, called for a press briefing, and this is what he had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, we have a prepared statement. The President called a special command conference this morning of the National Security and Defense Cluster in order to be briefed and to give his guidance on the latest violation by China of the sovereignty of the Republic of the Philippines. The Philippine government views the latest aggression by China as a blatant violation of international law. China has no legal right or authority to conduct law enforcement operations in our territorial waters and in our exclusive economic zone.
Alam po ninyo, nung marinig ko ito, ay nagpanting ang aking tenga. Kapagkat meron po yatang mga discordant ideas na binibitawan ang ating Secretary of National Defense. Sa kanyang sinasabi na China is number 1 in violation of Philippine sovereignty. Number 2, that China is in violation of international law. At ang pangatlo, China has no legal right or authority to conduct law enforcement operations in our territorial waters and in our exclusive economic zone. Ay akala ko pa naman na ito si Gibo Teodoro ay isang abogado. No? Bakit, mga kabansa? Dahil nung banggitin niya itong territorial waters, no? Slide please. Territorial waters. Our territorial waters. Ang Ayungin Shoal po, pinakikita sa picture na ito, is outside the archipelagic territorial limits demarcated by the 1898 Treaty of Paris. Makikita niyo po sa bandang kanan. no, ninyo, yung parang kwadrado na treaty limits. Alam niyo po, ang Pilipinas ay nakuha natin mula sa Amerikano. At ang Amerikano binili ang Pilipinas, no, from Spain, no? Ay hindi uubra dito ang mga lohika na bastaya. Lohikang Espanyol. Ha? Bastaya. Ika nga. Ibig sabihin, basta yan. Ha? At wala nang iba. Bakit po? Dahil tayo rito ay kailangang reasonable. Tayo po dito ay kailangang laging may panuntunan sa ating mga binibigkas na mga salita. At lalo-lalo na kayong mga taong gobyerno. Ha? Lalo-lalo na kayong mga taong gobyerno. Kailangan mag-iingat kayo sa inyong mga sinasabi dahil kayo ay mga bukas na libro, ha? Sa madlang people at binabantayan kayo. Lalo na kung kayo nagtatayo na ng billboards at kayo ay parang tatakbo na sa 2025 elections. Ayan. Paano magiging territorial waters natin yan? Ang territorial waters ay only 12 nautical miles from the coast of Palawan. 106 nautical miles so ito Ha? Kaya nilalagyan natin yan ng question mark at saka ng X. Ang Ayungin Shoal po is 106 nautical miles. So, tablado ka na kaagad dyan. Ha? Gibo. Ha? Ang pinagbabasihan ng territorial waters ay territorial land. The territorial land involved here is Palawan, 12 nautical miles lang. Lampas na yung 106 nautical miles ng Ayungin Shoal. Ha? So yan, ang teritoryo natin na itong binigay sa atin ng Amerika. Ha? Kung yan ay sinabi mo pa, ha? Ay nandyan ka. Wala na ho sa territorial limits natin. At kung, next slide, ang ibig sabihin ni Ginoong Teodoro ay Ayungin is part of the polygon claim by Presidential Decree 1956 by President Marcos Sr. as the Kalayaan Island Group. It still cannot count to be within our territorial waters dahil wala pa naman pong any adjudication in our favor, any international court decision, or any surrender of rights by any of the other claimants in the area. No? Na yan ay isinisid na sa atin. No? Pangalawa, Republic Act 9522, demarcating the Philippine baselines. Yan pong demarcation na yan ay yung thin line surrounding our map. No? Dito. Ha? At yan nasa loob yan, parang naging triangulo na yan sa loob nitong kwadrado ay a single unit archipelago, mga kabansa. Pero, inalis po nila ang Kalayaan Island Group, ng Republic Act 9522, nilimbag noong 2009, inalis nila yan sa archipelagic delineation ng Pilipinas and converted its classification to a regime of islands. At worse, mga kabansa, worse, the present administration's policy recognizes that the 2016 arbitral ruling, or what I call APA, na nakaregister sa Permanent Court of Arbitration, which is in accordance with UNCLOS, defined the component islands as mere rocks, thus debunking the wala ng islands. So wala ng regime of islands na thesis. Sa kanan po ng mapa, makikita nyo may parang curtain tres na solid, bold line. Yan po, nagtatalaga ang beyond 200 nautical miles dahil meron tayong claim dyan na continental shelf at yan ay inaward sa atin ng United Nations noong 2012, mga kabansa. At yan ang Benham Rice sa bandang kanan, no? Katapat ng Island of Luzon. Benham Rice na pinangalanan din natin na Philippine Rice. At yung Kalayaan, ayun po yung dotted green line, no? Sa bandang kaliwa. Alright? And of course, yung Treaty of Paris, sabi ko nga kanina, yung kwadrado. Ngayon, hindi po natin ito pinulot sa China. Ito po ay galing, no? Gawa, sabi nila pinaparot daw ng programang ito ang mga bersyon ng China. Well, this one is from the United States Department of State, Bureau of Oceans and International Environmental Scientific Affairs. Alright? So yan, mga kabansa. From islands to rocks. No? Next slide, please. From islands to rocks. So nawala yung archipelago. Yung APA, Arbitral PCA Ruling Award, classified Ayungin Shoal as Rinay or Second Thomas. Rinay sa China, Second Thomas sa mga Amerikano. Hindi raw ito rock or island, but a low tide elevation that cannot be the subject of sovereignty claim. So kung tinatanggap ninyo yung arbitral ruling na yan, no? Kaya hindi ko patanggap ang arbitral ruling mababawasan tayo ng claim. Hindi ba nyo naiintindihan yan? Kayong mga taong laman ng gobyerno, kayong mga nasa DFA, kayong mga nasa DND, paano kinukuha yung mga advisor? Mga former justices of the Supreme Court na hindi ko maintindihan kung nagtapos din ng law yan. And makikita nyo rito sa bandang kaliwang illustration, nandun pa yung polygon before the arbitration. No? Yung archipelagic extension ng main Philippine Archipelago. Na ang nag-drawing yan ay si Presidente Marcos Sr. Pero sa bandang kanan, after the arbitration, only hindi nga islands nawala na yung regime. Only the rocks ang naiwan dyan. Ayun, parang mga butol-butol na pula. So nawala na yung polygon. As an archipelago based on UNCLOS ratio of water to land. Meron pong pinagbabasihan kasi yan. So, paano naging part of our territorial waters? Itong kaguluhan dito sa malapit sa Ayungin Shoal. Meron ka bang maipakikitang titulo sa amin? Madlang people? Mr. Chodoro? Ayun naman, kami naman nagtatanong lang. Okay, sinabi mo. Ang sabi mo, dinagdag mo pa, sa susunod na slide, ito na, our exclusive economic zone. Okay. UNCLOS itself defines this right as a maritime entitlement to use and explore economic benefits from what is underwater, extending 200 nautical miles from the shores of a coastal state. Paano mo magiging territory yan? Kung underwater lang ang entitlement mo. Paano? Sige. Bulahin nyo kami. The sovereign right, hindi po sovereignty yan. Sovereign right lamang, karapatan lamang over an exclusive economic zone or EEZ is not equivalent to ownership. It does not even include the surface of the sea, which continues to be international waters. So our claim that this is our territory on the basis of exclusive economic zone is non sequitur. It does not necessarily follow. Samantala, ang soberanya includes the land and seas, including everything under it and the space over it. At ang soberanya is indivisible. Hindi ito pwedeng ma-penetrate. No? Hindi siya pwedeng, yung sovereign right, hindi pwedeng dumaktaw doon sa sovereignty. Makakapunta ka lang dyan kung may permiso yung may-ari. No? So, we claim sovereignty rights by UNCLOS. On the other hand, China claims sovereignty over the South China Seas not by UNCLOS, but historical rights. Ayan. Kaya itong EEZ position hardline has glaring inherent weaknesses, mga kabansa. No? Unang-una, tingnan nyo yung picture sa kaliwa. You cannot resupply Ayungin Shoal without entering Chinese-controlled water. Sabi nga ni Duterte, China is in possession of the territory. Ayan. Mula Palawan, mula Puerto Princesa, Palawan, dadaan ka ng Katipunan Shoal, dadaan ka ng Sabina Shoal, bago ka makarating ng Ayungin Shoal. Nagpapatrolya na ho dyan ang Chinese. No? Pangalawa, kung titingnan nyo naman sa kanan, no? Drenowing daw natin. Halimbawa, meron na nga. Lagay natin dito sa bandang kaliwa, ayun, exclusive economic zone. Yung picture naman sa kanan. Nakita nyo ba yung dalawang dot doon sa taas? Yung po ang Pag-asa at Parola. Ay nasa labas na po ng 200 nautical mile sovereignty rights claimed by Philippines. So huwag tayong magpadaos-daos when we talk about these terms. No? Dahil these terms are not interchangeable. They have specific and strict meanings and implications. No? Lalo na. Dito sa loob ng Pilipinas, pwede tayong magbulahan. Pero when it comes to other countries, remember, other countries are not subject to the laws of our country. Other countries, no. So, ano nangyari? Pag in-insist mo yung EEZ, labas na yung Pag-asa at saka Parola. So, you are diminishing the claim of Presidential Decree 1596. Yan ang implikasyonis niyan. So, ano ba kayo? Nag-iisip ba kayo ng tama? Bakit balutang kayo? Nakaamoy ba kayo ng pulburon lately? Pangatlo, para makarating dyan sa Parola at Pag-asa. Mga kabansa, you have to pass 4 islands controlled by China, 2 by Taiwan, and 5 by Vietnam. Wow! Meron ng mga ibang 4th and 5th parties involved here. So, number 4, wala naman tayong lakas para makipag-away sa China. Ang meron lang tayo, kung bibigyan tayo, kung i-honor ng China yung ating yung ating sovereignty rights, edi well and good. Pero hindi natin pwede sabihin sa China, hoy, amin yan. No. Yung sinasabi niyong atin ito, Ha? Ha? Risa Hontiveros, naglabas ka na ng mga billboards, ha? Atin ito. Manny Pacquiao, naglabas ka na rin ng billboards. Atin ito. Kayong tatlo ni Gibochadoro, tatakbo kayo ng 2025, ano? Kaya nagbubudbud na kayo rito, nagdidilig na kayo rito ng politics. Hindi hululusot sa amin yan. Because there are other countries involved. Ayan, nakita nyo ba yung China sovereignty claim, yung dash line? Ayun, oh. Yung exclusive economic zone ninyo, lusot na eh. Pinalulusot ninyo eh. Even if the tensions result sa gera, mga kabansa, miski na sabihin nyo pa sa gera yan, yung gera will ultimately end in the negotiation table. So why take the long, counterproductive, and even dangerous route to an understanding? Sa understanding din later on yan. Gera. Una, gulo. Tapos nagkagera. Tuloy din sa negotiation table. Sa peace talks. Tuloy din sa understanding. Tuloy din sa isang tratado. Bakit iikot pa tayo? Habang binababag natin ang China dyan, iba lang ho ang nakikinabang. A third party is watching how it can make the most out of the situation. Kaya, napaka-elusive ng synthesis dito. To disabuse one's mind about the conflict between China and the Philippines in the South China Seas, understanding can only proceed if some basic definition of terms are adopted and agreed upon and basic premises are accepted. Ang claim po ng Philippines is sovereignty rights. Karapatan. No? Doon sa mga nasa ilalim ng tubig. Saan ang galing yan? UNCLOS. Which was only adopted in 1982 and made effective in 1994. Samantalang, ang claim ng China is sovereignty, pag-aari, which was perfected in 1971 under UN Resolution 5728, when the People's Republic of China was finally recognized as the one China. As the one China. So ito pong hindi pagkikita is what you call in geopolitics as asymmetrical. Pag hindi nakikita, talagang magkakabanggaan at sa point. Diba? Samantalang kung mag-uusap, kung yung nasa ilalim, ay aakyat at kakausapin yung nasa itaas, at yung nasa itaas ay pauunlakan naman, magkakaresultahan po yan sa understanding. Bakit pa natin, mga kabansa, pinahihirap samantalang nasimulan na ni Pangulong Duterte yaang sinasabi natin na bilateral negotiations na yan? Bakit pumihit na naman tayo sa init ng ulo na ibinigay ni Noynoy Aquino ukol sa mga issues na ito? Bakit? Alam po ninyo na ina-address na yan ni Presidente Duterte sa 5 bilateral consultative mechanisms during the Duterte administration, concretely resulting in some joint venture proposals. Nagkakaroon na po ng liwanag. Una, sa field ng fisheries. Pangalawa, sa oil and gas exploration. So pumapayag na China, fisheries. Bumalik na ho yung ating mga mangingisda sa karagatan ng South China Sea. At nag-offer na ang China at nagpirmahan pa ng isang memorandum of understanding or agreement ukol sa joint exploration ng oil and gas sa Recto Reef or Reed Bank. Hindi ba yun ang nakaka-penetrate na tayo? Yung soberanya, dati hindi makapenetrate, no? Nakaka-penetrate na ho tayo dahil may fisheries na. At oil and gas exploration deal. Ano pa? What are we trying to prove? What are we trying to achieve? So, balik na naman tayo dito sa kaguluhan, mga kabansa. Sa kaguluhan, bakit? Because of Marcos' frivolous foreign policy. Galing po siya sa China, ayos na ang lahat. Pagbalik niya, bumalik ulit next time, February, biglang nadagdagan ang mga EDCA bases ng 4. At nung Mayo, pumunta siya sa US. Pagbalik niya, definitely, konfirmado na nagpivot. Pumihit ho si Presidente Bongbong Marcos. $82 million lamang pumihit na. Maaaring meron pa mga ibang konsiderasyones, pero secret. Ayaw kong sabihin sa atin ni Bongbong Marcos. Yung 82 is for the modernization of our armed forces. Dahil po itong administration na ito only equates security with national defense, with the armed forces of the Philippines, with the Philippine National Police. But in exchange, he was duped for 4 additional EDCA bases. Alam niyo po, ang mga EDCA bases, sinasabi ng papel, these are Philippine bases for temporary use by the Americans. Hey. Excuse me po. Basta po ang isang Philippine base ay naging EDCA base, yan po ay American base na. Bakit po? Dahil lahat na ipapasok nila dyan, non-disclosure. Hindi sila obligadong sabihin sa atin kung ano. Ang lugal, toyot, patis na papasok dyan, mga kabansa. So kung hindi natin alam kung ano ipapasok natin dyan, paano natin masasabi that they are still Philippine bases? They have morphed. Nag-metamorphosis na po to becoming American bases. At nung una, humanitarian assistance and disaster preparedness. Dumating ang mga bagyo, wala naman nangyari. Wala nung tulong. Wala. So yung mga LGUs affected, hindi naniwala. So hindi na rin naniwala yung mga masa. So pinalta ni Carlito Galvez ang kanyang istorya, ang kanyang narrative. To deterrence. Sabi naman ng middle class, hindi rin kami maniniwala dyan. Dahil wala namang kaaway. What are we deterring against? The weather? Hindi nga umubra yung disaster preparedness. So, sinong kaaway? So, finally, sa propaganda ng Pentagon, which is the Department of Defense of the United States, na admit din na this is for the prepositioning of possible weapons and equipment and personnel. Prepositioning offensive weapons in the event of a hot war with China over Taiwan. Yan, mga kabansa. So now they're engaged in setting this up, this prepositioning. Aanhin ang mga prepositioning na yan kung wala namang sigalot. So, punta tayo ngayon sa next slide, which is the collusion at sea. Ayan mga kabansa, no? The collusion at sea. At dito, mga kabansa, no? Bago tayo pumunta dyan, gusto ko lamang ipahiwatig sa inyo na 24 years, wala hong naging malaking gulo dyan. The resupply of humanitarian needs have been allowed by China. In fact, even during the time of Noynoy Aquino, Voltaire Gasmin was quoted as citing an agreement with the Chinese ambassador na hindi tayo magpapasok dyan ng anything else but the humanitarian needs of our Marines that are stationed there. Definitely, there will be no permanent building and construction. All right. But before we go on, let us go into the basics of the rules of the road. Ayan, pakita natin itong chart. Alam niyo po, lalo na kung gabi, wala kayong makikitang barko. Lalo na kung maitim masyado ang kadiliman. No? Makikita nyo lang dyan, mga ilaw. Pag puti ang nakita nyo, ibig sabihin, stern. Sa likod, nasa likod kayo ng isang barko. Pag ang nakita ninyo ay green, ibig sabihin, nasa kanan kayo ng isang barko. Green, starboard. Pag ang nakita nyo ay pula, nasa port side kayo. Kayo ay nasa kaliwa ng barko. Ngayon, yung barkong nasa gitna ay may priority of movement over vessels approaching from the left side. Kung merong vessel na nanggagaling at pumasok dyan sa pula, meron pong priority. May privilege. No? At you have to give way at yung gitnang ship must maintain its course and speed with caution. Pag kayo nandyan sa kanan, sa starboard, you give way, yung nasa gitna na yan, must give way to vessel approaching from this arc. Of any overtaking can happen, but if you're overtaking from the right, ikaw na nag-overtake sa starboard, meron kang priority. You can go ahead and overtake. Pero pag ikaw ay nag-overtake pakaliwa sa port, delikado dahil baka may kasalubong. Pero nevertheless, kung ikaw ay nandyan, ang prioridad ay nandoon sa bangkang nasa kanan mo. Yan lamang ho makikita nyo sa gabi. Ilaw na red, ilaw na green, ilaw na puti. Okay, let us now proceed. Dito, and let us use, hindi ho Chinese regulations to, This is international regulations for the prevention of collisions at sea. Let us play number 1.
This is an introduction to the rules, and it gives you an idea of the basics. It's a simple explanation of the actions required by all vessels by the international regulations for the prevention of collisions at sea. They can be complicated. We're looking at it in a simple version.
Tuloy na natin sa overtaking, play number 2.
For an overtaking situation, any vessel who is overtaking the other is the giveaway vessel. This could be a sail vessel or a power vessel. Overtaking means you're approaching from behind, which means you can't see the coloured side lights, only the stern light. You can alter either side, but generally starboard is a better option. So we also have to remember that in an overtaking situation, the giveaway vessel remains the giveaway vessel until finally passed and clear. So you can see here, this vessel's overtaking, she's gone to starboard, which is good, but then she tried to be tricky and altered course to cross in front of the other one, which is not allowed.
Yun. How about number 3?
Now let's look at the overtaking situation. It seems pretty easy. Alter course to starboard and overtake. This is if you're a powerboat or a sailboat. Remember that sailing boats can sometimes go faster than powerboats. And in an overtaking situation, the overtaking vessel is the giveaway vessel, power or sail. So we've said it's better to alter to starboard because you don't know if there's another vessel going to get involved in this, and if it did, it might not be so easy for you to keep out of the way. So go to starboard, it's normally the safer option. So if you don't alter course to starboard, if you come round to port and there's somebody coming towards you, you're in a head-on situation, and what are you going to do? You have to turn to starboard. That's where all the sea room is. So it's just easier to alter to starboard in the first place. Keep your starboard side clear, as they say.
All right. Let us move on to the next slide. Ito po ang full video, no? Yung number 1. Next slide. Overtaking. One drive. Galing yung saan nanggagaling yung Philippine resupply boat sa kaliwa, no? Ang inovertaken niya diretso ang takbo, siya pa diagonal, no? Ano ang rule ng call reg o IRPCS? Let us play number 2.
Every ship that is overtaking must not come in the way of vessel being overtaken. An overtaking vessel has the responsibility of keeping clear. Once it has overtaken, it cannot alter course and claim to be a crossing vessel.
Alright. Pakita natin yung Philippine. Kanina pinakita natin yung angle from the Chinese Coast Guard, no? Ngayon pakita natin yung angle ng Philippine vessel while overtaking, mula sa view ng TV5. Play number 3.
Nabidyohan ko.
Kaya kung hinabaan yun para makita nyo yung tinahak sa tubig. Na nakita nyo, ayan, nanggagaling siya sa kaliwa. At siya ang humarang. Siya ang nag-side swipe, mga kabansa. Ayun. Okay? He should have maintained a straight line bago siya kumat. Maliwanag po ba? Ngayon dito sa next slide, papakita natin na kung sino ang stationary tingnan nyo mabuti at kung sino ang gumagalaw. Ito ho, from the drone angle, courtesy of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Drone. Hiniram siguro sa mga Amerikano yan. Okay. Let us play number 1. Boom! Ayun. Ayan mga kabansa, no? Imbis na dumiretso lang siya, pumihit siya sa kanan. Kaya yung puwit niya dumunggol doon sa hindi gumagalaw na Chinese fishing vessel. Mga kabansa. Dito naman sa lateral angle, makikita ninyo, ang daming TV crew, ang daming mga talagang sinetap nila ito eh. Pakita natin. Tandaan ninyo, ang movement ng barko, makikita nyo doon sa labo-labo ng tubig sa puwitan ng barko. Kung sino ang umaandar at kung sino hindi umaandar. Ano po? Sino at kung stationary ang isa at kung sino ang gumagalaw. Let's play number 2. Litrato. Babangga na. Penter. Yung bangga. O nakita ninyo? Gumagalaw ba yung Chinese fishing vessel? Sino ang gumagalaw? Kaninong makina ang naririnig natin? Ito ho ang analysis ng isang Amerikano na sinare niya sa TikTok about yung sinasabi natin kanina sa Collusion Regulation Call Regs na Rule 13. Let's play the TikTok.
It is absolutely infuriating how much Western media continues to lie to the general public about what's happening abroad. By now, many of you know about the Chinese and Philippines incident where China was harassing the Philippines. I was a qualified surface warfare officer. I was stationed in Japan and traveled to the Philippines several times. I will make a disclaimer, the Philippines are terrible ship drivers. And to be a qualified surface warfare officer, you have to essentially memorize what are known as the rules of the road. The rules of the road essentially tell you how to drive a ship and interact with others, both domestically and internationally. After watching this video several times, who do you think was in the wrong, the Chinese Coast Guard or the Philippine ship? And before you answer that, look at where this ship is at and you can see its wake. It was originally behind the Chinese Coast Guard ship. This is clearly what's known as an overtaking situation, and the ship that is in front, that's known as a stand-on vessel. They keep their course and speed. The giveaway vessel, which would have been the Filipino ship, should have stayed away from the Chinese ship. Rule number 13, any vessel overtaking any other shall keep out of the way of the vessel being overtaken. And when you look at this wake, you can literally see the curvature there where they turn towards the Chinese Coast Guard ship. And remember, the Chinese ship is supposed to maintain course and speed. This Filipino ship, you can literally see the wake where it crossed in front. And what's really strange about this footage is the amount of Filipinos that magically had phones and cameras out to record this specific event. which makes me really speculate that this whole situation was created to create more anti-Chinese sentiment in the U.S. Nah, U.S. government would never do that.
Ayan mga kabansa. Alright. So let's now get the opinion of blogger Arnel Bernardino. Ang sabi niya, api-apihan ang storya pero masaya ang pictorials. Ha? Ito yung binanggana, nakangiti pa. Photo ops lang. Obvious na nagpagamit para lalong lumala ang tensyon. Ha? Typical patriotic pictures with dramatic captions. Sige lang. Ituloy ninyo yan, mala telenobelang gaguhan at pagtayo na pasubo sa gulo as if naman tutulungan tayo ng US. Remember, sa Scarborough Shoal, hindi tayo tinulungan ng US. Remember, nung magtatayo ang China ng mga isla nila, nag-reclaim ang China ng 5 to 8 islands, wala. Nanood lang ho ang Amerika. O ngayon, sinusubo tayo sa gulo. Well, anyway, congratulations kay Sandra Aguinaldo ng GMA. Sasaba ka ba sa front lines kapag natupad ang kagustuhan mong gera kontra China? Ha? O baka naman nagkataon lang na nandun si Sandra Aguinaldo nagkaroon ng bagaan. At nagkataon lamang na nandun ang TV crew niya. Ha? Hindi lang yata isang cameraman. Napakarami pa. Mahirap po mga usaping ganito, mga kabansa. Dahil noong October 20, next slide please. Noong October 20, ang Ronald Reagan, isang aircraft carrier fleet, ay dumaan ho mismo sa tagiliran ng Scarborough Shoal na may kasama mga escort ships na Arleigh Burke class at Tikong de Roga class. At ito po ay pinaraan. Meron silang freedom of navigation. Pinaraan sila. Pero binabantayan sila ng isang Coast Guard ship na nandun sa bandang Scarborough Shoal. Kasi paglalapit sila sa Scarborough Shoal, hindi ho sila papayagan. So, ayan mga kabansa, no? And this happens. Bakit wala kayong sinasabi? Akala ko ba ayaw nyo magpapasok dyan sa kine-claim ninyong teritoryo nyo? Kine-claim ninyong exclusive economic zone? Kine-claim ninyo at tinatawag pa nyong West Philippine Sea? Aba, fleet na ho yan dumaan. Wala naman tayong narinig na report sa mainstream media. Delikado ho yan dahil according to Raymond Powell, ito po yung kakuntsaba ni J. Tariela dyan, no? ng Gordon Nutt Center for National Security Innovation sa Stanford University. Outrageous daw yan. Blockade na nangyari dyan. Pero itong ominous. Joint patrols would emphasize to China the tightness of the Philippine-US alliance and increases the Philippine leverage. So they're moving forward into organizing joint patrols with other countries. At nagkaroon pa ng leak na yung Sierra Madre ay gusto nilang gawing forward station. Kaya pinipilit nila. Bakit hinarang yung dalawa ho yung supply ship Bakit hinarang yung isa hindi? Dahil resupply mission po ng humanitarian needs yung isang boat. Pero itong hinahabol at tinataboy was carrying construction material and building materials. Alam nyo ba, akala nyo ba walang remote sensing ang China to be able to distinguish kung ano laman ng mga kargamento ninyo? Aba, itanong nyo yan sa DOST kung yan ay madaling malaman nila. By the way, this news comes from Benar News, an adjunct of Radio Free Asia of the U.S. Agency for Global Affairs, the main arm of the 500 million America competes act to demonize China. At itong Gordian knot is a project of the U.S. Naval Research. Ang tanong, Ang tanong, are we dressing up? Are we dressing up for a preemptive attack by China? Bakit tayo nakikipaggirian ng ganito? Anong ginagawa niya mga EDCA bases na yan? Siyam na yan, all over the country. At ngayon, nanggagatong tayo ng mga kolisyon na pre-stage natin. Tayo ba talaga mga kabansa ay pumapayag na maging proxy ng China? Ng Amerika, sorry. Tayo ba ay nahahanda na like Ukraine na magsakripisyo ng kalahating milyong buhay ng mga Pilipino para laban sa ambisyon ng isang banyagang bansa na wala namang halos maitulong sa atin? Handa na ba kayo sa inyong maaaring maging bagong papel dito sa napipintong baka simula ng isang pagdaigdigang gera na naman? Well, anyway, bago ako magtapos, mga kabansa, ako'y mag-apologize muna na ang telecast na ito ay delayed because nagkaroon kami ng technical difficulties involving the broadband. No? Pero bago ako magpaalam sa inyo, gusto ko munang ipahatid sa inyo na in-endorse ni Antonio Parlade ang aking libro, itong aking third bestseller na ang front ay The Poverty of Power. And I was hoping that the flip side would have been The Power of Poverty. Kaya may front page cover ako, may back page cover ako. Pero ewan ko kung saan tayo dinadala nitong si Bongbong Marcos at kung talagang magkakaroon ng rise of Philippine Phoenix. Well, anyway, sabi ni June Parlade, congratulations, Kuya Ado, for this very revealing piece which everyone should read. If you love your democracy, read it. If you want to support it, buy it. If you want to expose real culprits of your democracy's demise, share it. Tandaan po ninyo ang numero 0917-336-4366 para po sa kung kayo man ay o-order o magtatanong kung paano kayo magkakaroon ng isa nito. So, are you ready for this new role? Are you ready? Because the Americans are ready. They are just all too willing to die up to the last Filipino. And at this point, I would like to remember the words of Claro Emerecto. By the way, ito po ay Claro Emerecto was born in Chaong, Quezon, the birthplace of my mother, and we are related to him. Siya po ay aking lolo rin. No? Ito po ang kanyang sinabi at namnamin ninyo ang bawat salita na binitawan ni Claro Emerecto sa kanyang libro, Our Mendicant Foreign Policy. Ang ating panuntunang panlabas na panuntunan ng isang pulubi. Mendicant. Time and again, I have consistently exposed dangerous and provocative entanglements. Parang panahon din ngayon, ano po? They distract our attention from our own grave and urgent problems. They dissipate our already limited strength and energy, which we need so much to establish our political, social, and economic security. And what is worse, they expose our people to the fearful consequences of another war. A war which will be fought on Asian soil with only expendable and bewildered Asians for sacrificial victims on the altar of power, politics, and international intrigues. This is ang Maestro Ado Paglinawan. I leave you with these words of Claro Emerecto. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagtangkilik at magkita-kita ulit tayo sa darating na Sabado for the next episode of Ang Maestro dito po sa Katipunan Channel. For now, God bless, for peace, and hopefully for development, and away from war. Maraming salamat po.
Get ready.